Hey guys, what's up? It's Moon and welcome to today's episode of Map Awareness. Today we're going to talk about Forgiven, SKT-T1, and Aurelion Sol. Forgiven. Recently there has been a huge ordeal around Forgiven and his future in professional play. In a post-game interview, he became very emotional and admitted to having been contacted by the Greek army. In response, fans and esports enthusiasts came together and made a petition to relieve him of his services. Greece allowed him a deferment of his services, so to the joy of H2K fans and players, he will remain the AD carry of their team. With a 6.8 KDA and a 31.1% damage participation, he is a great asset to this #1 team. And as Freak stated, he is widely regarded as one of the most mechanically skilled players in League. With an upwards of 2/3 of the community agreeing that he's the best AD carry in LCS, there are definitely high hopes regarding him. And I'm sure in the future he won't disappoint. Moving on to SKT-T1. The Koreans have always been a powerhouse in League of Legends, and SK Telecom T1 is not a light example of this. The two-time world champion team recently came back for another victory at IEM Katowice. With a 3-0 sweep against Fnatic in the grand finals, they continue to satisfy their fans. In the first game, Fnatic took an early game lead with picks from Lee Sin and Zac. However, it was over when Faker got his Quicksilver Sash, and SKT got the first 3 dragons uncontested. In game 2, Fnatic tried to poke off enemies and Duke did a fantastic job on Poppy. But Faker and Bang did far too much damage to contest. A close Baron in Fnatic's favor almost turned the tides, but SKT won a 4v5 fight and took the base for victory number 2. In the final game, Fnatic banned out the Poppy, Braum, and Ezreal that SKT had won with the first 2 games. This did not prove enough as the game resulted in a surrender, not long after a few fights concluding in SKT's favor. SKT just don't seem to have a weakness, and one huge factor in their victories is Faker. Reoccurring member Faker is said to be the #1 League of Legends player of all time. Being a member in both years that SKT-T1 won first place in Worlds, it's not difficult to see why. But one thing it is difficult to see is the end of SKT's success. And now for some exciting news about a new champion, Aurelion Sol. League of Legends has not been disappointing with its recent influx of champions, but this one is sure to be an exciting addition to gameplay in both professional and casual games. Aurelion Sol is sure to be a strong laner with his passive Center of the Universe zoning the enemy at all times, as 3 rings orbit him just at the end of his auto attack range, dealing magic damage and applying spell effects to enemies they strike. His Q Star Surge is a newborn star he fires away from him that can either be detonated, stunning and dealing damage to those it stops on, or nurtured and grown in size so that it damages and stuns a wider area when it explodes. His W Celestial Expansion expands his passive and drains mana as long as it is toggled. This increases his zoning potential immensely. His E Comet of Legend has a passive of movement speed when he's constantly moving in one direction, and is partially stored away once he has changed directions that are lost once he takes damage from an enemy. Its active is once his stacks are maxed, he can activate his Comet to pull in his orbiting stars and take flight. His ultimate Voice of Light, he shoots out a long and wide wave of starfire in a target direction, damaging and slowing all enemies in his path. Nearby enemies are also knocked back to his outer ring. With such a unique skill set, it's sure that this champion will bring some gameplay that's out of this world. Thank you so much for tuning in, and if you like this, check out more content on skgaming.com.